Hi there, and welcome to the Anxiety Society podcast, brought to you by Jordan Devlin and Scott Hope. This is a show where you can listen to people talk about their life experiences in relation to mental health. Visit Jordan's Anxiety Society on Facebook for updates on how you can get involved in future podcasts. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Right, we're off.
Fuck me.
Off we are. Fucking banger, man. Take two.
Oh,
This has been
terrible.
a nightmare. This has been the worst one.
Easily.
Doesn't
help.
this is Lucy's already went into her story for the last 10 minutes, and then we listened to it, and it was all echoey. So we're trying again. We're sorry, Luce.
That's all right, boys.
Happens to the best days.
We're learning.
It's
and we're-
showbiz. It's
Exactly.
showbiz, isn't it? That what I mean? You can't
and
help
we're learning at an extremely slow pace. It's borderline embarrassing. So
No, we ken exactly what we're doing. It's a computer that doesn't ken what we're wanting to do.
aye, that's
That's
about it.
exactly what it is.
Aye.
It's the tools. It's always the tools. Never the
Okay.
clowns working them.
Honestly,
100%.
how much was Soundtrap? 150 or
Didn't get
something.
paid for it.
Aye, you're not joking. Too much anyway. But aye, sorry, Liz, but we'll go again.
That's all right.
So for those that don't know, you know, that is, it's because I'm listening to myself.
That's
It's
payback
solid,
for
man.
last week, mate.
Aye.
Aye, we're keeping that in. This is live.
Comes to the best.
Are you sure this isn't a fucking comedy show?
So honestly, it's fucking... We're basically Jack and Victor sitting here. This show is
Right.
brought to you by Lanarchy.
Right, sorry, for those that don't know, is that better?
Aye, much better.
Luce is a professional football player, and my fiance. Aye, sorry, Luce, just go for it.
Right, I'll introduce myself. shall
You
I?
introduce
Aye.
yourself because I'm brain dead.
It's
Right,
got
I'll
to
give
take
you my,
itself for a walk,
I'll
mate.
give you my full name. So I'm Lucy Graham. As Scott alluded to there before, I'm a professional football player that's playing in the Women's Super League in England. I'm captain of Everton Football Club, otherwise known as the Toffees. I turned pro in 2018 when I signed for Bristol City. I did sign a professional contract in 2015 when I moved to Sweden briefly for about 3 months. But I didn't like to think that that's where my professional career started, because about after 3 months I came back to Scotland again and started playing with Hibs again. So
Thank God.
was that the hardest 3 months of your life, Scott?
Aye, definitely.
So I turned pro in 2018 when I signed for Bristol, and I've been involved obviously for a few years now, worked my way up in the Scottish national team, playing for kind of under 17s, under 19s, up to the seniors, and I've got, I think, about 10 senior caps now to my name. So hopefully I can keep adding to them over the course of the next few years. So aye, that's where I'm at just now.
Aye. And before we mucked the last one up, we were just sort of going into that. Although it sounds straightforward when you say it, it's been anything but that, really.
Aye, totally. I mean, there's nothing ever goes straightforward, really, is there, as you probably well know. But before I turned pro, like I was just, I still am just your normal gal for the council estate. But before I turned pro, and after like leaving school and stuff, I just went to college and done like sports coaching and sports performance, just kind of like courses that I was interested in, really. Obviously doing the coaching side of things was more interesting and more beneficial for me, because it meant that I could obviously dab my hand a wee bit in coaching on the side and try and earn a wee bit of money doing that. I've only really had probably one proper job to my name before I became a football player, and that was like working at Tesco, which I'll come back to. But I also did some like agency work as well, which was pretty much just like 0-hour contract stuff, where you would get in touch with an agency and then they would give you a phone back when someone came up in some random place that they needed filled in. So I was just working in kind of like random factories, turning up in my high vis vest and steel T-caps, just ready for whatever the day had for me. But for like packing boxes to, I reckon, unloading pallets of boxes with lorries and just anything really that would give me a wee bit of money, so I could put fuel in the car to get me to training really. So it was just means of a way to get to training, to be honest with you.
Because you weren't earning anything through football at that point.
No, well, football, when I was playing in Scotland, football was total amateur there, so there was no money at all. There was no expenses. I was travelling to Edinburgh 4 or 5 times a week, no earning any money really, just playing it. Like I didn't have to pay to play, but I wasn't earning any money either. So, that was just a way that I had to kind of dig deep and just fund it. Fund it any way that I could. So,
I don't know, like how tough was that period? Obviously, I know, but for people listening, how tough was that period when you were going through it, like having to train, because you were basically training full time, and having to work to sort of fund, as you're saying, just getting to training. So how was that when you were going through it?
When I look back at it now, I'm surprised I wasn't burnt out. Like realistically, like you say, I was training the same as what a full-time athlete would train and working at the same time just to try and kind of fund that. But I feel like back then I would have done anything just to play football. Like football was the best part in my day. Like working was hard. Well, the work was hard, but my real job, I always felt like my real job was always football. And even though I didn't get paid for it, I still felt like that got my total 100% effort. So that's just what I had to do. I just had to suck it up and probably hated every minute of it, but I knew that it would let me go and play football. So it's just what I had to do, really.
And at that point, obviously, I know that at points you did burn it.
Aye, totally. I mean, it was difficult. Like, there's no way around it really. When you're burning the wick at both ends and you're spreading yourself so thin, like what do you expect? I mean, there's people out there doing it now, day to day, like working hard and trying to keep up a family and trying to get to the gym. And I mean, Scott, I'd say you were one of these people that just doesn't stop as well. Like, so you probably ken what it feels like, but like you say, you just sort of get on with it.
Aye. It's tough that whole burning out thing, because I think sometimes when you're going through it, you don't even realise how tired you are. As you're saying, I've just been through an exam recently, and when I was going through it, I was working so hard, and I thought I was burnt out, and I went and passed the exam, as you know, and when that was all finished, I looked back at it and I was like, how hard were you actually working there? So it's weird that you don't even give yourself the break. Like, I know I worked hard during it, but now I look back on it and I think it could have even worked harder.
Aye, I think there's a difference as well between like hard work and working hard, if that makes sense. So
Aye.
I found working in factories and doing jobs that I didn't particularly like hard work. I only found them hard work because I didn't really like them.
Aye,
The jobs weren't necessarily difficult, they weren't challenging, but because I didn't like them, I felt like after a day, like standing on my feet, I was like, oh God, that was hard work today. Where it wasn't hard.
Aye.
It was simple, it was basic. But it's just because I wasn't passionate about it and I didn't particularly like doing it. And I think for people out there who are in jobs that they didn't like, even though you're sitting on your bum 9 till 5 and the job's not necessarily physically demanding and hard, you still feel like it's hard work.
Aye,
You
definitely.
know what I mean? So
Sorry, Ginger's went a bit quiet. He's absolutely lost it.
he's lost it. What do you mean lost it?
That chair squeaked and he's gone. He can't stop laughing.
All right, we'll just say it in here a conversation.
That's what I was thinking. I think we'll just have a conversation, which is weird because we're actually having a serious conversation, and we talk 95% bullshit.
Aye.
constantly.
You've got
Aye.
100%
Is,
bullshit.
aye. Is there any way you
Aye.
can turn off listening, Hang?
Listening.
I can't hear myself
Aye.
talking for hearing myself talking.
Sorry,
Sorry,
about
just
that.
here's 2 seconds.
I'm fucking still 12-year-old in the head.
Sorry, Lewis. I was just
Well, fucking.
when I'm talking, I can hear myself talking,
No.
and it's so
Speak in
distracting.
slow motion.
Actually, I may.
Every time I went to come back, you were like trying to sing a sentence killer, mate. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. That's it.
Can you still hear us, Liz?
I can hear you.
Right.
I'll just edit
Fuck
that
me,
wee section out. But aye, so obviously you had to fucking graft away you had an early say, but obviously at school and that it's obviously not the norm for a lassie to be as good at football as you are. So how did you feel about, say, your ability against the boys at that young age? And you obviously had the mindset as you were going to make it as a footballer. So how hard was it to maybe overcome the opinions that people maybe gave you, saying, nah, you'll need to screw your head on, you need to do something else with your life and all that sort of stuff?
It's funny to say that because that's never been said to me in my life.
Is it no?
No, nobody's ever came up to me and said, "Lush, you're never going to make it." Never.
That's a
I
good
was
thing, I
al-
suppose.
I was always accepted and I was always encouraged, and I feel like I'm so lucky that way that there's millions of lassies and women out there who have potentially taken part in sport and have had their dreams crushed, or they've just been like, that's maybe no like the best option for you, or like you're maybe not going to make it. Like I never ever had that. I was always like totally encouraged, even for like primary school. Like it was always known like the girls played hockey and the boys played football.
Mm-hmm.
And at primary school, it was like, nah, Lucy's in the football team. Like that's just
Aye.
feels like end of, like you're playing in the football. There was actually one point I was playing the football team and the hockey team. Like I would just jump between the two. Like I did. I was just always really, really encouraged, and I had never had that. Like, oh, you might need that. Not even feel like my family. Like they never even thought, okay, that's a bit of a pie in the sky shot list. Like
Mm-hmm.
you didn't want to back yourself up with something else, and like I never ever had the conversations really.
So do you think that helped you get to where you are today, having all that encouragement surrounded by you in your youth and stuff? So you didn't really have that sort of negative opinion at that young age where you, as you said previously, that maybe other lassies' dreams have been crushed by it.
Aye, totally. I mean, like when you're surrounded by people that kind of believe in you or are also as committed and supporting you,
Mm-hmm.
like if I was going to fail, it would be on me, because my family done everything that they could to get me to where I needed to be. So
Yeah.
I feel like you just need to have that inner drive, and I guess I've always had that. I mean, anytime I got asked when I was in primary school, like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they would go around the class and you'd get them, oh, I want to be a policeman, I want to be a fireman, I want to be this. I always just wanted to be a football player.
Mm-hmm.
And I reckon if that was because I was young and naive, like, I never ever dreamt about being a football player. I just knew that football made me happy. And that's just, like, I was just naive. I was like, oh, well, football makes me really happy. I'm not interested in anything else, so I'll just be that.
That's the thing.
You know what I mean?
At that time, it wasn't even really a viable career, was it?
No.
Like, it's only become a
it really
viable
wasn't.
career in the last sort of decade.
Aye. Even when I look back, before I signed with Bristol, I was playing football at like a no bad level, but like I still wasn't making any money up until 2018, like, which is obviously fairly recent.
Aye.
So, I mean, it is a strange one. It's still like I say, when I was a wee lassie, I reckon I could never imagined kind of where I'd be playing at the level that I am now, because I mean, how could I imagine something that I can't see?
Aye, because it didn't exist at the time.
It didn't exist. You didn't switch on the telly and you could watch women play football, or, you know what I mean? I didn't actually see it, but I just could feel how good it made me feel when I was like, well, I'm just going to pursue that then. And that's like a 8-year-old lassie saying that.
Aye.
Aye.
You know what I mean?
So when you were at Hibs, obviously you mentioned that you'd went out to Sweden. which I think was a really exciting time for both of us.
Mhm.
Can you remember like what your initial reaction was when you got that call? Like who was it that actually got in contact with you?
Aye, so it was the Malback in the club for Sweden got in touch with Hibs, and were pretty much like, I think they had like an injury or something, and they were like, oh, we need a replacement midfielder. Like, we're interested in Lucy. Like, obviously I didn't have an agent at the time. I wasn't like, you didn't sign like contracts or anything when I was at Hibs. It was just like a registration. You were just registered to play with the league and whatever. So there was nothing really like professional that I had to go through. And it was the coach at Hibs at the time just phoned me up and said, Lucy, listen, this club for Sweden are interested in you going out there for 3 months. Like, are you interested? It's in the Damallsvenskan, which is like the women, like the top league in Sweden at the time. I was only about 17 actually at the time.
I think we were 17 now.
So obviously when I got the phone call, I was like, all right, like, give me a wee while, like, let me think about it. I need to go and speak to like my family, my dad and that. I was like, I don't get what I'm doing. Like, I was like, right, get back to me. So I hung the phone up and went down the stair and just like spoke to my dad, and like, I was like, Dad, there's a team in Sweden that are interested in me going there for, I was like, it's only for 3 months. And he literally turned around to me and says, all right, pack your bags in. He's like, twice about sending me away. He was just like jumping at the chance, and I feel like I was like, right, fine, like, I'll go for it. Like, what have I got to lose? Like, it's 3 months. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If I don't like it, it's not the end of the world. Like, I'm just come home again.
So was that kind of the first time that you were ever going to be taken away from, like, say, your family home? Well, you're not taken away, but like that was kind of like you trying to fly the nest a wee bit at 17-year-old, because that's quite young to be leaving your home, eh?
Aye, pretty much. Like, that was the first taste that I was just like, all right then, like, if I want to take this seriously, then here I go. You know what I mean? Like, if I feel like if I didn't take that step or get that sort of flavour for what the game can be like, then I feel like it would have been an opportunity missed. So
were you like apprehensive at all with, like, obviously leaving home and going to a country? I take it, had you ever visited Sweden before this, or?
Nah.
So it's going to be a completely new culture in that to you, and obviously you're committing to 3 months, so it wasn't as if you're going to go there for a day and think, nah, this isn't for me, and then come home. Like, so what was kind of going through your head at that stage when you've obviously been, your dad's obviously been like, right, go for it, Luce. You're obviously thinking, right, I need to go for it. This is my career. This is my chance. But you've obviously got this stuff like running in the background, like, oh, I'm having to leave home and all this stuff.
Aye. The hardest bit was telling Scott, probably.
Aye, it was hard for me and all. I remember, I can remember you telling me, and I think we were in the Cowdenbeath gym.
Aye, we were.
Aye, and you told me, and I was honestly heartbroken. I was like, that's it. I was like, it's done.
That's the whole
I genuinely, that was my genuine thought at the time, because I know that, like, I just didn't envisage it being any, like, when you said it's just for 3 months, I was like, nah. I just seen, like, I'm moving to Sweden. That's all I heard. I'm moving to Sweden, and I was thinking, fucking, how are we getting through this? Like,
3 months, mate.
But at the time,
aye, I know. At 17-year-old age.
Aye, I was like,
but just to give people a bit of context, how old were you and Luce when you started going out? 12. Well then, so you've been together 5 years, so it's no like it was fresh and like this is going to break us because we're just fresh. So, like, for folk listening, like, you were solid since you were 12. Aye,
and then that was probably the only point I ever doubted it, like, whether we would get through that. I don't know if about you, Luce.
Well, like, it's just like that uncertainty that just gets chucked in there. Like, hey, it's like, oh well, I'm going to Sweden, so I'll see you in 3 months. Like, what next? Like, all right then.
Because that's the thing. I didn't think it would be 3 months. Although you said it was a 3-month contract, I thought she'll go out there and obviously they'll want to keep her. Like there's no chance that she'll be coming back.
Richardson did want to keep me, by the way, but
I was learning Swedish and everything.
Aye.
I'm not even joking. I was.
He's a
I
taster.
can't remember nothing now, but at the time I got an app and everything. I was like,
Aye.
I'll move out there if I need to.
Aye. True love,
Because
mate.
that's it. Because
MVP.
it wasn't even there wasn't even a thought in my head saying I never said like, oh, what about me, or
Aye.
like it wasn't even an option. Like I was the same as her dad. So like when she was saying, I was like, well, off you go then.
Aye.
Like, there's no chance you're passing that up. No chance.
I mean, the last thing you want to do in a relationship is hold your other half back.
Aye.
When you can, it's going to be good for them. So, for like an outside
Aye.
perspective, obviously, when I heard that you were going to Sweden and that, like for me, like that was like your kind of trampoline for your career.
Aye.
So that was just like a bounce pad, pretty
Aye.
much. a bounce pad. Aye,
Springboard.
that rocketed you to where you are now, in my opinion. But aye, it must have been hard for the Perrys, obviously been together for 5 years. Granted, it was through school and stuff, but to be ripped apart with each other like that, it's all a bit hard hitting.
Aye. Well, that's the thing, and it turns out that we weren't through that 3 months. I went out twice,
Aye.
and we've got a family friend, Gordon's his name, who is an absolute gem, who I went with for a game, and we went all the way out there. I'm not joking. And he was like, right, I've got everything sorted. I'm like, Gordon, I'm trusting you here. And if he listens to this, he'll say that I'm bullshitting and I had the map and everything, but he had the map. He knew where the stadium was. We jumped in a taxi, went to the stadium, wrong fucking stadium. No game. 5 minutes before kickoff. We
How far
fucking
was this stadium for the
about 5 mile. And honestly, it dropped us off in the wilderness, so we had to walk back to get in another taxi. And we're actually saying to the boy, we've not got a clue where this game is. We're looking for women's football. And he took us to 5 different stadiums before we hit the right one, and it was half time before we got there. Flew all the way to Sweden to get this fucking game and missed half it. But and then the next time I came out, I think it was for 10 days or something I came out. Was it as long as that?
Aye, it was about that. I'd say so.
Aye.
Week or so.
I loved it out there. I thought it was brilliant.
Oh, Sweden was amazing. I loved the country. The culture was brilliant. The people were so friendly. The food was really good. Like the football at the time was decent. Like obviously it was a level up for what I had been used to. Like training with like women who are actual who were like athletes at the time who took their football really seriously. Obviously it was full time, so I wasn't really balancing a job at the same time. So I could kind of I wasn't studying. I was just all about football. So even in that, although it was a short spell, like I still like learnt a lot, even about myself and just the way that I held myself. And I had to act confident even if I wasn't confident. Like I was a bairn really, and I had to just act confident. So although it was just a short time, I still felt that I learnt a lot about football, and I learnt a lot about myself as well, just as a player. So
How was the language barrier?
It was quite hard. To be fair, I'm quite lucky in a way because I knew a lassie who actually played out there already, who I shared a house with. So I shared a house with a Swedish lassie and obviously one of my pals. She's still my pal to this day, actually. So I shared a house obviously with an English speaking lassie. So like the coaches did speak a wee bit like English, but they used to just pretty much ramble away in Swedish and then like come and take me to the side and just be like, this is what's happening, blah blah blah. But I mean, you picked up like wee words and like phrases, like football terms. Like it was quite straightforward. Like football's football. It's the same language, if I'm honest.
I know when obviously when you went out there, I think the difficult thing was when you went out there, you probably didn't play as much football as what you would have wanted.
Aye, pretty much. Aye. And to be fair, I would go up to the coaches and be like, why am I not playing, and like put me on and all this, like, and they're probably like looking at me like, what are you talking about? Like you're not a lassie.
Google Translate trying to work out what you're saying.
But
that's the thing, because you were took over by a director of football and given to the coaches.
Aye.
Which is why that fucking system doesn't work. But it was weird because you would like start in cup games and score, and then the league would come in again and you wouldn't play.
Aye. Aye, so that was one of the frustrating things as well. But again, it was just like a learning curve for like how do I manage my emotions and how do I manage myself, and like you can't let things like that get you put you down type thing. You just got to keep turning up and just doing what you do. Really, you just got to let the fit body do the talking.
How did you keep that sort of positive mindset? Obviously, when you're sitting on the bench or maybe even out of the squad and stuff, and you ken that you've got the ability there, but folk are like, it's not a case of you're not believing in yourself, but the people who are obviously there to play you maybe didn't have that belief in you. What did you kind of do to keep yourself positive through that, and how did you not let that affect your sort of ambition?
I think it's just a mindset. You just choose not to react to it. You just choose not to get emotional about it. And it's like anything really. If you get any setbacks or any like bad news or that, like I'm in control. Like me, I control the narrative in my head. I control the narrative in my life, whatever. I guess I reckon if I really just had a light on young shoulders or whatever, like I didn't really let things like that affect me, to be honest with you.
I did like, and I think you sort of live by that sort of every day. Like I'm not as good at it as and I try, and I've been trying to get better at it. But stuff like road rage and like watching Arsenal and that, I get uncontrollable anger. And
setting up this.
Aye, and she's sort of like, "What you getting angry? They can't hear you. Like what you shouting at?" And I think it's just because you're so level-headed that you're just so good at not letting things get to you and not taking things personal in a way.
Aye, like oh my god, there's times when we've been playing darts, been playing snooker, been playing pool, watching the football. Oh my god, some of the reactions I've seen, and like I've just been like, I don't get it. I just don't get how folk can get themselves in such a mess.
That's pretty interesting.
It's something so trivial. It's so trivial.
Because you're obviously completely different on the football part, because obviously you've got the passion to win. So obviously when you're playing darts and pool and stuff, you're not really asked if you get beat. But what are you like on the football part when you get beat?
Exactly the same.
Oh yeah.
Aye.
Humble and defeat.
Of course, you've got to be. I mean, like as much as like I hate losing. I hate losing more than anything in the world. I hate it. But as soon as you accept that you've lost, as long as you ken yourself that you've done everything in your power and you've gave everything that you can, like what can you do?
That's it. You need to try and stay objective to it, or you're not going to learn from mistakes or that if you get emotional.
That's it. Like as soon as you let emotion cloud your feelings and like let it out, or let it get on top of you, that it's won. Get what I mean?
It's so difficult.
It's
so difficult today to stay objective. I hate losing, and it's got to the point I hate losing so much that I'm not even competitive anymore. It's the worst thing in the world, especially as you're saying. Like we played a lot of sports, and we've pretty much just stopped now because of my reactions.
Aye,
they're so bad, but you're so good at everything, and that's what's annoying. Like you can't just give me one thing to win it.
But then if I let you win, there's no point in playing.
Aye, can't let him win.
You need to let me win. I'm like a 5-year-old playing Monopoly, and I just can toss the board.
To be fair, see when I was really young, I was like that. Ken, even like you say, like at Monopoly, Snakes and Ladders, any stupid wee board game. Like if I never won, like I would tear the house down. My family hate playing games with me. You used to get a glass and can put dice in it, can just get a wee shake and a wee roll. I was shaking the dice that hard one time that I fucking smashed the glass and everything. The glass just shattered in my hand, and then I started greeting and everything because I was like, oh, like my mum was like, what are you doing? Look. I was like, oh no, that's it, end of that. Okay, so like I did used to like, I hated getting beat when I was younger, and I still hate getting beat. But I didn't get emotional. Can't afford to get emotional about it.
So what sort of changed you for obviously going tonto for getting beat when you were a bairn to the humble person that you're now? Was it like a certain thing that changed your mindset on how to accept defeat, or was it just gradual through time and experience?
I think it's just learning. I think it's just gradual. It's a gradual thing. Like, you didn't just turn up one day and you're pure angry, and then the next day you're like pure zen. Like, that just doesn't happen. I think it is. I think once you just understand that shouting and swearing and getting emotional about things does nothing to help. It's like, well, what am I wasting my energy for? What am I wasting energy on things that I can't control? I can't control the referee's just made a rubbish decision. If I'm shouting at him or her, they're not going to change the decision. So I've just wasted then my energy on something that I can't even control.
I totally disagree with that one. Like,
I
love shouting at referees. Yeah.
But I suppose that does translate, not just like it translates not just in football, but with everything. Like stuff that can really affect your mood, like traffic or something like that.
Aye.
Like when you can't control it, what is the point in getting so wound up? And I am really trying and actually like practicing and trying to stay objective and how to make my day better. Like, people always say, like, I'm having a shit day today. Like, what has actually made it shit? Like, you sat in traffic for 10 minutes. Like, that's such, like, that is only in your head that you've had a shit day. Like, if it's trivial stuff like that. And then that just leads on to having a shit week, a shit month. Sort of thing.
The thing is, like I said before, like, you can control your own narrative in your head. So if you wake up one day or in the morning and go, oh, I'm going to have a shit day today, 99% of the chances are you're going to have a fucking shit day because you've woke up with that narrative in your head. Whereas instead of looking at it and going, oh, this is going to be a challenge today, but I'm going to turn up and get my best shot anyway.
I actually did it. How long ago was that? About last week?
Last week,
I was texting her and I was like, it's going to be a shit day in the morning. She was like, fucking well with that attitude. I was like, to be fair, sorry, it'll be a challenging day.
So, is there anything you kind of do that you've, just for anybody listening that's maybe want to get on your level in terms of mindset, is there anything you do to stay so optimistic and just like objective about everything? Like, obviously you're saying if you wake up and tell yourself it's going to be a class day today, like, I can personally, there's days when I wake up and I'm like, I cannot be fucked. And even if I tell myself it's going to be a class day, and it's like, Jordan, don't fucking talk piss, it's shit already. So, like, what is it you actually do, or is it just natural?
No, I'm not a robot. Of course I hate days like that, but the majority of the time I'm turning up to something that I'm passionate about. So, I love my job. I love waking up in the morning because I go to work to do something that I'm really passionate about. Like, it sounds easy, but you've got, like, why would I want to, like, of course if I wake up, like if I was still working in the factories, I'd be waking up every morning likely saying, oh no again, no the day. Again, no the day, I'm not feeling it today. Like, that's what I'm saying, the difference between hard work and working hard is different.
Aye.
Like, you feel like, oh, it's hard work getting up and out of my bed to go and work in a factory. It's hard work, physically hard work getting up to go and train 5 times a week. That is hard. But because I love it, I put in the hard work, I invest in it.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sure everybody would love to have like a job that they love and they're passionate about and they can give their all and stuff. Sometimes that's just not the option, and it's just a case of putting food on the table and stuff. But 100%, like, to everybody out there, if you do have that chance of doing something that you love, it will completely change you as a person.
I think with that though, like, Lewis, you took the gamble on that being your career, and there's not a lot of people brave enough. I say brave enough. That's probably a bad way of putting it, but it's
the same.
It's the exact same. There's not a lot of people willing to take that risk.
Courageous.
Courageous. That's it.
Fucking Jordan Thesaurus sitting here.
Because you had to get like a lot up in school when you were going through it, where your grades would have been a lot better if you had the time to actually put into that. But you put your sole focus into football even at that time. So like people say, like, just for example, Conor McGregor's salary and say, oh, well, he makes 50 million a year or whatever he makes, and think like that he hardly works for it, but he had to put in, say, 5,000 hours unpaid to get to that point. And you've done the exact same, where like you're saying like you get up and you love your job, but you've put yourself in that position.
Aye.
Through like all the hours that you had to train where you weren't getting paid for it.
It's like what we said in the past, though. Everybody's just looking for a shortcut these days to either fame or rich.
Aye.
Be rich. Like, there isn't a shortcut unless you fucking put the lottery on and you win it.
Aye.
You know what I mean? But the chances of that happening, I reckon, there is chances, but but aye, a lot of folk are just they want to be this person, but they're not willing to put in the work.
Aye.
But obviously, for speaking to you, you clearly have put in the work, and you're that person that you always dreamed you wanted to be. So I'm sure everybody will take their hat off to you.
Like you say, like I definitely put all my eggs in one basket. Like
fucking Love Island, that's what you'll be on next.
but again, like if I never played football, then if I invested as much time and effort and hours into being at school, I've got no qualms in thinking that I could have been like a straight A student. Like I'm not a stupid lassie. I just didn't focus on my grades as much as I probably should have, because I just found school a bit boring. I didn't know I was sitting in a classroom.
I don't know.
Like and at the time, like that was just my attitude to it. Like I just had this chip on my shoulder type thing. Like, I'm like, nah, I'm just going to be a football player, and I'm just going to hate to make that work. And I didn't get like bad grades at school, but I certainly never got like outstanding. Like, and there's football players, like there's lassies now that are like straight A students and football players at the same time. And I'm like, aye, fair enough, but we're
good.
table rubbing shoulders now, so get what I mean?
Has anybody ever asked you the question? If you weren't a footballer, what do you think you'd be?
Aye, all the time.
Aye, all the time.
So, what is the answer to that question?
Probably in the dough. I'm joking. Nah, well, I do can. I honestly do can, because, like I say, like if I can invest as much time as, like, if you take football out of it, and all the time and effort that I spent putting into football, and I put that into somewhere else, I could be anything I wanted to be. Like, if I never played football, I'm sure I would have had another hobby or another interest, and I would have just put all that time into that as well. I just don't know what that might have been at the time. It can tennis. It might not even have been a sport. It might have been painting or drawing or writing. I reckon it might have been English or maths. I reckon it could have been anything. But if I never found football, I would have just found something else.
That's fair.
Did you drop out there? You still hear us, Liz? Aye.
I can still hear you.
Perfect. Did you ever? I kind of know the answer to this, but just for other people listening, did you ever doubt that it was going to happen?
Aye.
Did you?
Aye.
I thought it was not.
Of course. I mean, when you get to
what
an
point
age
was that, do you think?
that I doubted it was going to happen.
Aye.
You feel like a right dick now.
I don't feel like I doubt. I'm surprised though.
Aye.
Probably just before. I'd probably say just before my mum died, actually. About 2017, I remember sitting down and talking to her and having a conversation like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, Mum. Like, I don't know if I can. I just want to get a real job, and maybe I just want to having a social life, and maybe I just want to be with my pals sometimes, and maybe I just want to earn a wee bit of money for me and get to spend time for me and get to spend time with you. And like, although I felt like I had everything and I was on this pure journey and this pure path that I was so driven towards, I was so starved of kind of other social stuff.
Aye, that's what folk didn't realise about folk in like your own shoes and like sporting professions, like that sort of the reality gets taken away from them because they're so good at what they do. similar
Aye.
to yourself, like you've obviously put your 100% into football, so that is going to stop you from going out and say getting bevied on the weekend, because if you're bevied on the weekend and you're hungover the next day and you can't put your all into what you're trying to become.
Aye. And I think just as well, like when you're at that age where like you see like all your pals gone out and or like you turn up to school the next day and folk are like, I don't know, like folk talking about what they've done at the weekend and then I was like, oh, like what did you get up to? I was like, I was just playing football. Like I was in my bed early, I had an early kickoff or I had an away game or like, and it was just like that was it. Like I went to school Monday to Friday, played football at the weekend, went to school Monday, like, and then even when I came out of school and like had jobs and stuff, like I had no time for anything else apart from working and then at training. Then I was working, then at training, and it was kind of like Groundhog Day. And again, like you say, when you hit burnout, I think I just had one of the burnout moments, and I just sat down and just like, I said, like if this is what it takes, I reckon if I've got what it takes, like I've been doing this for so many years now, and I'm still no any further forward. And I just knew fine well that I'd had to move out of the country to go and find a professional contract because the state of Scottish football and where it was at the time, like it just wasn't an option. It just wasn't realistic. So obviously in 2017 when I lost my mum, like I kind of just had a word with myself and I was like, right then, like listen, if you're going to make this happen, then you be as well doing it the now because like what are you waiting on type thing. So
see when you sat down and you had that conversation with your mum about I don't care if I want to do this or I might just get a real job in that. What was her response to that? Obviously seeing you as a bear and just have nothing but football in your head. Aye.
She always played like devil's advocate and was just like, well, what do you see yourself doing then? And I never ever had an answer.
Aye.
She's like, if you're going to give this up and you're going to like go and start somewhere else, what are you going to do? And I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe just get a real job. And she's like, no, like she's like, you're too good for that. You can't go and get a real job. She's like, you weren't put on this earth to get a real job. Like you're a wee star. Like you're like she always called me her wee star. She was like, you're a wee star. You can't go and get a real job. That's no for you.
Aye.
I guess.
Sorry, go for it. No, go for it.
All right, and I guess that's kind of just what like gave me a kick up the arse and was like, right, fine then, right. Like actually, I didn't have another solution, so I'm just going to hate if I can go for it here.
I definitely seen a change in you after your mum had passed. Obviously, there was a grieving process before that. It's just tough. That I've never really seen you like that, where understandably where you were so low. Did you ever doubt that you were going to sort of come out of that grieving period? Like, was that straight away that you wanted to do that, or was there a period of time where you thought, like, I can't even see myself on a football pitch just now?
I knew that the grieving period would end. Like, I didn't ken how long it would take. I didn't really ken how I was supposed to feel. Like, at the time, and I was working at Tesco actually, and like obviously I had time off work and stuff, and like I started getting phone calls for work and being like, are you like when are you coming back, or like do you want to give us a date when you're coming back? And I was kind of like how long am I supposed to feel like this, or
how long's a piece of string? What kind of questions that to a Sunday?
Like, because I can't even remember how long I had been off work, but it was a few months anyway. And I remember going to the doctor for like a sick line to get my work, and the doctor wouldn't give me a sick line.
What?
Aye.
He refused to give you a sick line.
So I had obviously like a few months off work already. I didn't think I actually got a sick line for that. I think that was just automatically like the grievance period for work. So and then they started phoning me saying like you're it's coming to an end type thing. Like if you're needing any more time off, like, which we totally understand, then we're going to need like a sick line for your doctor. So I was like, that's fine. Like I'll go down to the doctor and go and get it. And I went into the doctors and was like, listen, I need to get a sick line, and kind of still didn't feel like in a state where I can go into work and stuff. And I refused. Well, she was like, didn't feel like I just never came out with a sick line anyway. Like I reckon why, but
I'm that shell shocked.
That's absolutely nuts.
Like they're actually getting
So,
away
and
like raffle tickets these days. So
then I think that was the point where I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna need to get back to work then.
So I'm guessing, did you force yourself back into Tesco obviously after you got rejected that sick line?
I kind of like, to be fair, I'm like my manager and everything, they were brilliant with me. Like they were just like, right, just come back in like a few days a week or whatever. You just need to do like the bare minimum. If you didn't want to talk to anybody, then you talk to anybody. We're all here for you and stuff. And then that way I just kind of like gradually worked my way back in, went in a couple of days, like, and they were all so friendly. Like that's why I was saying, like when I was like working at Tesco, like I loved it there. That the people made it such a nice place to work. And I'm actually so thankful that that's where I was at the time that happened, because like when I went back, like they just made it feel normal. Like they didn't like, I reckon, like they didn't stare, they didn't ask stupid questions. They just made it normal. Like they just made me feel like, oh, Lucy's back, like nice to see you again, how's the football gone, or like what you've been, keeping yourself busy, I hope everything, like they just made it normal type thing. So
that's a good thing though, because the last thing you want to do is obviously go back and then be like reintroduced to this trauma that you've just been through.
Aye.
Was that like the first, like obviously close relative that you'd lost and you'd had to deal with grief for the first time?
Aye.
Yeah, mate.
Sorry,
Sorry, he's fucking away with someone and you'll be able to hear it. Sorry, go for it, Liz.
Sorry, I'm struggling a bit.
I know that was my first experience.
So see if
like,
we just look into that sort of thing. What was kind of going through your head through that whole sort of process? Because I mean, we've had people on here speaking about how they've lost somebody, but a parent, it's obviously there's not really much worse.
Aye. Well, right. I'll not go into too much detail, but I'll give you some context anyway, so it'll probably help the listeners. Like,
aye.
So obviously this is like an anxiety, mental health podcast type thing.
Yeah.
And my mum struggled for years with mental health. Like, she suffered just with low mood, depression, whatever. She was on medication for years, like on and off medication. Like you probably hear about it nowadays, like, oh, like I'm on these pills, and then, oh, like I'm trying to get off this, and I'm like, she was a bit much like the same, eh?
Yeah.
But she also struggled with alcohol as well. She was what you would probably class as a functioning alcoholic. So that probably came like hand in hand a bit with the depression as well. I'm not really sure what one came first in terms of like if she was depressed and then she turned to drink to kind of like soften it, or if the binge drinking was then like the depression was then a repercussion of the binge drinking or whatever. I'm not too sure. But she battled with that for years. Even for like when I was a wee lassie, like I was sheltered for a lot. Obviously, having an older brother and an older sister, they protected me for quite a bit. So, that's essentially. I lost my mum in 2017, just basically due to her mental health and alcoholism, really.
And I don't think the circumstances obviously were sorry, struggling with this. I can remember it was a really tough period, like obviously for yourself, and we've talked on a couple of podcasts before about sort of trying to take pain away from people, and that's the most I've ever felt. That I just like I wish I could make this go away for you. Like, if I could take all that pain off you and put it on myself, I would have in a heartbeat.
Aye.
Because you're a really strong person. So to see a really strong person like that suffer so badly was heart-wrenching. So to sort of come out of that, because there was at the point that there was points where I thought I didn't think you would play football again, to be honest.
Mm.
Do you know what
I can't actually remember how long I stepped back for.
I think it was. I don't actually think you played for Hibs again. I think your mum passed in the October, and you didn't go down to Bristol till the following July.
Aye.
I
Honestly,
don't think
I'm
you
not
played
joking.
football in that period.
That phase is like it's actually quite blurry. I feel like I just switched my heedle for a wee while, and I can't even tell you a lot like what I done between that October and then signing for Bristol. I can't even really tell you what happened in between there.
No.
That's the thing about trauma, though. You either completely didn't mind anything about it, or you can remember every single little detail about it.
I think your defence mechanism was just to shut off at that point.
Aye. It must have been because honestly, like I didn't even ken.
So can you remember any sort of feelings at that time that you had at that point in your life, Luce? Maybe not necessarily like the early doors when obviously you just found out and stuff, but like moving down the line, did it like spark a fire in your heart to keep going or something?
I just remember I had like a bit of a conversation with myself in my head and just being like that. I think it must have been at the point where I was like getting back into football, and I was like, right, do I phone Hibs up and go, right, I'm ready to come back, or do I take the plunge and just try and get some representation and try and get myself down to England? And that's literally what I done. Nobody came and chat my door and said, Luce, like, we want to sign you up, like, come and sign these papers and we'll get you. It wasn't like that. I actually just phoned a guy. I was like, listen, I'm looking for a wee bit of representation. I'm looking to get my name. I need a couple of trials somewhere just so I can show what I'm all about. Like, can you get me in somewhere? And that's when the boy was like, right, fine, I'll put my feelers out and I'll try and see what I can get for you, because it was obviously coming up for pre-season at the time down in England. So they're like, right, I'll try and get you in. And then that's when the boy came back and he had a few teams and he was like, Bristol City are really interested in getting you down for a few days, or I think it might have been a week or something. And
I think it was a weekend.
Is it a weekend, like a long weekend?
It was a weekend.
And they were like, right, Bristol City are interested in getting you down, like when like, can you come down as soon as possible? I was like, right, that's fine. I'm going to try and just go for this. And it was that conversation I had in my head where I was just like, and it's a wee bit sad because I think back on it now, like, it's so scary to think that you have to be confronted with like death or loss or like a life-threatening disease to like take action.
Yeah, aye, 100%.
Why do we wait so long to like bite? Like, why do we take so long to jump? Like, what was scared of?
I know. I think obviously with you, I think you had some sort of sense of responsibility for your mother. I know you said that she struggled, and I think you felt a sense of responsibility to be there for her.
I definitely did. Definitely.
And I think, although it's try to put this in.
No, I can't what you're going to say.
That was sort of a release for you.
Aye.
And although you loved your mum, her part, like the one, I'm trying to say this in the right nice way possible. The one nice thing that you can take away from that is that sense of freedom.
Aye. The biggest thing holding me back for doing what I wanted to do was being scared to leave my mum. Was pretty much like in a way she was my biggest driving force. She was also the biggest thing that was holding me back.
Aye.
because I was so scared to like, oh my god, if I moved down to England and she's in Scotland or whatever, like I'm not just at the touch of a button. She can't just phone me and I can't just be right there
Aye.
when she needs me.
Aye.
And then so obviously that was probably I had the conversation in my head. I was just like, well, what's had me back now? Like,
It's the fact that you actually used your own initiative. It wasn't like you were scouted or that. You kind of gave yourself that shake that you maybe needed after so many months of maybe suffering with grief and that, which is healthy. Don't get me wrong, but you've obviously gave yourself that shake, used your initiative, and look where you've ended up.
Exactly. Like, it was just what was needed at the time, and obviously Scott helped me get down to Bristol as well.
It's honestly, I don't know. I never cried through that whole period. That whole however many months it was between that October and the July. But see, when you got signed, I've never cried like it since. And I was just myself. I wasn't in front of you, obviously, but I broke down and I was actually howling. It just felt like relief. It just, because at the time I was in a job that wasn't paying great as well. And between us, we never had any money, so I had to like go over my overdraft to book the flights into Bristol for you. Spending money we didn't have, getting you the flights. So when I texted you like the first day and I was like, how's it going? You were like, it's really well, it's going really good. And I was like, how do you think your chances are? And you were like, I think it's actually good. And I was like, this might actually be happening here. And then when you signed, obviously, I fucking broke down. And then I thought, I think it was maybe a pre-season game or something like that. I was like, I hope she gets on the pitch. Like I would love it. Even if she got 5 minutes at the end, I would be delighted. And then you were starting. I was like, fucking hell, she's starting. And then I watched the game and I was like, holy shit, she's not just starting, she's the best fucking player on the team. And we were worried about you even getting signed.
Aye.
Like it's nuts. Like and then obviously you went, because one of the teams interested at the time about the trial was Brighton. And first game of the season was Bristol against Brighton. And I went down I got the overnight bus down to London, and then got on a boat, went up the Thames to this other train station, got 3 trains down to Crawley to watch this first game of the season, and Brighton had dragged their heels like the whole. Had they ever been actually in touch?
No.
That's what you call an away day, by the way.
Aye, that's a proper away day. And she fucking scores a fucking 35-yard screamer first game of the season into Brighton. I great on the way up as well. Great on the bus on the way up. I couldn't believe what I'd just seen.
Again, the sweetest part of that story though, I remember after the game, and he's one of like the only few fans that like Brighton, where Brighton were playing, it's like fucking back arse in the area. And he was literally like one of the only fans in the stand. So I goes out to him after the game and he's got these Malteser truffles and he's like, here you go, here's your Malteser truffles. And I remember that so vividly. I was like, oh, like as if he just came all this way and they your truffles. I was like, oh, no.
Romance for you.
Aye.
The romance is not dead.
Aye. But,
so is that your kind of deal then? So whenever you score, he comes down with truffles then?
Aye, Malteser truffles.
Is that your goal bonus?
Aye, he knows the way to my heart, eh?
Aye. I knew it was a long journey back. He's trying to keep you going. But that period when you were at Bristol, I was up in Aberdeen, and I felt that period like was so easy. Like, because you were doing what like we were both comfortable in that I had a good job at that point as well. You were doing what you loved, and I think that's when it really started for us. Up to now, like how happy we both are now.
Adults.
Okay.
Adults, aye.
Aye. We almost couldn't have lived further apart.
Nah.
Like in the UK, we almost couldn't have lived like further apart. One like you're up in Aberdeen, I'm down in Bristol, like, and it never ever phased us. It was never a problem. Like we never ever complained about it. Like
that's when you get it's healthy though.
like I was doing what I just dreamed about doing. You had a good job that you were obviously like it was your like the start of your career or whatever you wanted to do. And like you said, Jordan, when you were saying like when you've got the other half, like you never ever want to see them doing, like you want to see them doing well. Like you would never want them to be good doing something that is rubbish or that they didn't like. You want to see them doing well. And I feel like we were both doing something that we both really enjoyed. Like obviously we were living at opposite ends of the country, but we were both in a good place. And I didn't like there was never a point where we were like, oh, like you need to move down here, like you need to help me down here, or like, oh, I'm really lonely, I need you to move up here. Like we were doing a thing, we were doing separate things, but we were both doing things that we enjoyed.
I wouldn't say as much as it separated you distance wise, I think it brought you closer together as a couple for an outside perspective anyway.
Aye, definitely. I mean, when you're both happy, like you just make it work.
That's what folk don't understand these days. So you need to be happy with yourself before you can be happy with anybody else. Everybody's just too quick to just jump into a relationship because they're scared of being lonely and that. But you wouldn't care what that's like because you've been joining their hips since you were 12-year-old.
But that's the thing though, that I think that's why we have lasted so long, is because we're no joint at the hip. Although we love each other's company, sometimes that separation's healthy, and some people don't get it where they come home and their partner's like sometimes Lucy just likes to go to the shop. Like if I'm like without me, and that's fine. That's I don't need to follow her everywhere, and you don't need to follow your partner about everywhere.
No.
If they're going out somewhere, just right, I'll see you when you get back. You don't have to be.
I personally hate going to the shop.
Well, there you go. So yeah, that's where she goes.
I think we've just both got that level of independence where, like, we need each other because we function better together, but we didn't rely on each other to get to where we want to go. Like, we're both very independent.
Aye.
But when we're together, we're so like codependent. Like we're just at the end. It's quite hard to explain.
Aye, I mean, I can't remember the last time we argued.
No.
Years. Honestly, it is.
No, I
actually can remember it. It was, and it wasn't even an argument.
This is interesting.
It wasn't even an argument. We actually went silent for a couple of years. Just never spoke to each other.
Was that in Thailand?
Aye. And you know what that was? Because we'd spent 2 weeks together. That was the only person we'd spoke to. And I can't even remember what it was. She was looking for something in her bag and couldn't find it.
So it was your fault?
No.
Right.
So she went to find something in her bag, couldn't find it, and was dating someone else at the time. So she was like, go and look for this for me, whatever it was. I can't remember what it was. So I looked and I went, no, I can't find it either. And she went, oh, for fuck's sake. And then she looked back again in the bag and found it and turned to me and was like, are you fucking blind? I'm like, you looked for it first. I never found it and now I'm getting the blame for it. I still stand by it. But,
it was a bikini. I was looking for a bikini because we were not going to the beach that day.
We were
going to the beach that day, so I was looking for this bikini. And I was like, we were nearly like 2 weeks into the holiday and the bags, like, because we had moved in hotels. So like the bags were just like a mess. Like there was clays everywhere, everything. I was just like, oh my god, I can't find it. I was like, I just need to go and do something else. I need to go in the shower or do something. And I was like, go and see if you can find that between the two of the bags. Go and see if you can find it. So he goes and has a look and goes, nah, Ken has a classic man look. nah, can't find it. I was like, I could have sworn I put it in there. So again, obviously, I goes back and has a look. Finds it, turns into him and goes, are you blind? I told you to look for this. Obviously, of course, I did have a look for it to start with.
See?
Aye. She's admitted the guilt.
Aye.
But and then at the time, like...
Can't afford for you to go silent.
Looking back on it now, it was funny, but I'd say that was probably only our only argument.
That is the
I can't remember.
Argument I've ever heard.
That's what I mean, and it wasn't even an argument. We just
That's a pure excuse for an argument.
That is.
I can't believe you've classed it as an argument. Actually, I'm just going to keep saying the word argument because it's definitely not a fucking argument. A disagreement. That is what that is.
Aye, the bullshit is, and I genuinely don't think, and I think it is that that independence that helps that. Like, can't even think of how to describe it. Sorry, my head's went fucking blank. I'm talking shit.
Sorry about him. I would say he's new, but this is his fifth chance. But aye, so Lucy, obviously you've been here, there and everywhere, footballing wise. Obviously, a lot of isolation, so you're obviously separated from both family and friends, and obviously Scott. How do you cope with that side of things? Do you ever get to points where you're kind of feeling lonely? Or like, obviously you're surrounded with your other lasses that you're playing football alongside, but do you ever get to points where you feel isolated and you just think, oh, I wish I could just go home?
Aye, definitely.
How do you kind of, so obviously, how do you kind of get through the times of isolation? And what a question to ask during COVID. Aye, talking to somebody.
Talking, aye. I feel like when I get really deep in things, or I just feel like, one, I start ignoring folk, I start getting lazy, my house starts getting messy. Like, there's these wee trigger things that I notice that happen, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, I need to get a grip of myself. Like, I like, for whatever reason, like, of course you get lonely, especially now, like you say, living myself. Didn't really get to talk to a lot of folk. There's nowhere really to go. I spend a lot of time in a high intense kind of environment at football, which is obviously work, which I take really, really seriously. No, every day is a great day, because it's hard. Sometimes you turn up to the training pitch and you can't kick a nurse for whatever reason. So, and then you come back and you're like, oh, that's all you think about. You're like, oh, that mistake and that goal and that was my fault. And like, sometimes when you come home, you've got no distraction, and then all you think about is all the negative stuff.
Yeah,
it's quite easy to fall into that kind of low mood, or that state, like that negative state of mind type thing. So yeah, I definitely feel when that happens, I then find like these wee triggers of like, oh, I'll leave the dishes to the morning. Oh, I'll put on the water. I just start putting stuff off to the morning. You know what I mean?
I know that gets done.
Like they've texted me. Oh, I'll text them back in the morning. Like, no, date the new. Like,
just giving yourself that kick up the arse.
Literally, aye. So, I think definitely just talking is one of the main things. And like, humans, we're social beings. Like, we shouldn't be locked up in houses and isolated, and like, it's no good for us, eh?
Tell Nicola
that.
I know.
Again,
it's trying their best.
Going to talk about cancelling the Old Firm and that.
Ridiculous.
Madness.
Absolute madness. Sorry, we're not going off topic here, but I
think it's actually quite relevant. Like with that whole Rangers thing. Like,
I've took holidays off. I'm up for it.
I
think I'm taking holidays after sitting in this house.
Exactly. I think it's just the annoying thing is you're not even allowed to have the conversation about it now. Like that whole Rangers thing. However many fans went out and celebrated, as bad as it was for you. Like, say it was 3,000 people, just throwing a number out there. Like, maybe that whole thing saved 3 people's lives. Maybe like there was 3 people within that group that were on the verge of suicide, and they winning the league and being able to celebrate and hug people and sing and fucking laugh and that. Maybe that's brought somebody a hole, and it's not even discussed.
Relate it back to Lucy. When was the time you won your first trophy? Because that's what Rangers have done. So like, you can obviously see why they're so excited, and I take my hat off to them. Like, obviously, it's happened during difficult, challenging times, but when you win your first trophy, it must be some.
In your first league title.
Aye.
Sorry.
Aye. But if you even mention that, it's like you're a granny killer. You're like, oh, so do you want my granny to die? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying.
I just want to fucking.
You should at least be able to have the conversation. Like, how is this affecting folks' mental health over how the virus? Obviously, it's terrible, and like for anybody that has suffered from it and has lost family members, it has been horrible. But there's also people that are really, really suffering. And I know, like for me personally, and Luce as well, that we are both quite mentally tough. And the fact that we've struggled through this, like, what is somebody like that their mental health isn't
I think it'd be hard to find. I think it'd be a lot harder to find somebody that hasn't struggled. In fact,
Aye.
I think it would be impossible.
Aye.
This whole scenario that's happening right now has affected you one way or another.
Yeah.
It has to have.
And there's not a lot of people being affected positively by it.
Nah.
No.
COVID.
Again,
COVID,
I'd probably say like I'm one of the few people who has been like I've never like my job's like I'm still up and running like because I'm classed as like the professional sport was the first like one of the first things to back up like we can't be doing without professional football, so we'll get all them back in. It's like perfect for me.
Aye.
But for like
so they couldn't have been doing without the railway.
But for folk like are turning around and be like, oh well, I've just lost my job, can't afford to pay my bills. The bairns in there at school, so they're dead lucky done. Like there's folk out there who are honestly, I don't know how they're managing it.
Nah.
Like and like you say, like I'm one of the folk who has been like mildly affected, and I've still had days where I'm like, oh my god, like I need this to end. I need to get out of this house. Like, aye.
So how would you say it's like changed your whole career aspects of things? Because it's obviously, I'm guessing it's a lot different to your usual. Like you'll have all these different precautions and that to take, training with groups of folk every day, or do you just basically have to go to your work and just isolate and no leave the house?
I pretty much like we go into training every day, like have to get our like temperatures taken and everything, and there's bits of the building where like you can't like there's no access to certain folk, and it's kind of like a one-way system and you can't cross paths with certain folk, and to be honest it's all a bit like restrictive and complicated, and it's not as a nice place as it was when everything's free and open, and like obviously these precautions are being taken for your health and your safety and to make sure that we are like no crossing paths with and whatever, but even that it's just a weight. It's just an extra thing to think about. Like you can't just turn up and relax, and anytime you're inside you're wearing a mask, and I mean it's trivial and I'm still moaning about it, and there's folk out there who are losing jobs and that, so
it's just
you need to put it in perspective a wee bit.
It's just been horrible all around, like especially for, as you say, for the people losing jobs and that. Like I heard Joe Rogan talking about it, but like if Nicola Sturgeon's pay was based on how many people were working, how quickly would everybody be back?
Aye.
Like she's getting her wage, and I'm not saying she's in an impossible position where whatever she does, she's gonna get for somewhere. But it's just like my personal point of view is that I think more needs to be done for people's mental health in this. I don't think it's not even taken into account at all. I don't think like there's not been any extra measures for people's mental health at all.
Like, if you are struggling mentally, visit the website on.
What's a website going?
It's shite. It's shite. I can't what you're saying, but that's why we're here.
Exactly.
Listen to us talk. Cheer you up.
Well, exactly. Like I feel like obviously Jordan, like you ken yourself what it's like to feel like that depression and that anxiety. Like obviously Scott, you're on the other end of it where you've never really experienced it firsthand, but you're here to kind of educate yourself. And I feel like the biggest thing about humans and the whole social thing and the whole communication thing is that like communication is a two-way thing, and it's not only talking, but it's just having somebody there to listen.
Exactly.
Listening is massive.
Listen, like there's no point in me rabbiting on and communicating and giving you advice and stuff if you're not listening.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? So I think I just like having this platform just for folk even to listen. I mean, it might just pass an hour of their day or whatever, just maybe get some lost in another wee world where they're not thinking about how shite their life is maybe.
It's similar to what we were saying to Gav like last week. Like when would I ever go into like such in-depth conversation with you? It's like I kind of got parted in that, but we would never be talking about like this sort of stuff in person. Like it takes us to press the record button to have a conversation like this. Well, it doesn't. Like we're recording it because we want people to hear it.
And me and Lucy can talk about this sort of stuff.
No.
We never go this in depth ever.
Because you couldn't find that bikini, mate.
I know, mate. Aye, she went saying on me. Aye, but I think this is very much like against your character list to sort of come out and talk about this stuff.
Oh, I mean, well, like you say, like we've never even sat down and had these conversations.
Nah.
So for me, like to publicly come out and say things that I've never said before, it's no, I'm not hiding them, I'm not bottling up because I didn't want anybody to hear them. It just never comes up in conversation.
Aye.
Nah, you've never felt the need to say anything.
I've never, I didn't, like, I didn't want that to be labelled as part of me. Like I didn't want, like, I'm just me. I'm just the same Lucy that he's went to school with. It doesn't matter, like, oh, you see me on the telly, or like I'm this local celebrity, or whatever. Like, I'm just the same, and whatever my story is, and whatever somebody else's story is, I take them at face value. Like that's the main thing. Is just like, it sounds cringy, but like you say, you do ken what folk are going through, and I feel like for my experiences anyway, and what's happened to me, I've definitely had to change the way I think. I definitely changed the way about how compassionate I am to people. Like I didn't just say, like, for whatever, like somebody's acting like an idiot, or like it's all that they want all the attention, and I'm just like, well, maybe they're just really insecure. I don't know. Like maybe they're doing that just to have a conversation. Maybe they're, or even if on the opposite end of the spectrum, if they're like really reserved and quiet, like maybe they just like being like that, and that's fine.
How
like,
do you find?
He's not a weirdo because he's quiet. He's just maybe
100%.
just likes being like that. You know what I mean?
How do you find the whole social media aspect side of things? Because you're quite big time, you know.
Not really.
No, matters if we're going there.
To be honest, I only really have it because I feel like what I'm trying to do, what I'm doing right now in terms of like leading a way and giving younger girls who are maybe looking up to me something that I never had.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, obviously at the beginning, I would get asked questions like just now, like, oh, who was your female like inspiration or female role model growing up? I never had one. Didn't see it on the telly that much. Maybe I seen like somebody playing at Wimbledon, or maybe I seen like Jessica Ennis in athletics, but I never had a football player. I never had a direct role model. And I feel like for me, I do use social media as a tool to be shouting and saying, oh, look at me, look what I'm doing, look how good I'm doing. I just use it as like, oh, maybe if maybe some young kids have got social media, they can see it, that it's real. Like, oh, I ken her. I spoke to her after the game one day. I got a picture with her. I've got her signature. She sent me a top. She gave, like, I'm that human. Like, I'm on the football pitch, but like, it's still me. It's just me. Like,
it's quite good how you said it there though. Like, you're trying to be somebody that you never had when you were trying to be a footballer.
Aye.
Like, I can't, like, obviously before you, I can't really think of many female footballers in recent times. That's maybe just me being naive.
No, I think just about not being televised until the last couple of years. I don't think it was obviously when you're in that world, you know, like who the top players were from maybe like 10 years ago, but they don't get anywhere near the platform that the players get now.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose that comes its own sort of. I think for yourself included, and a lot of female football players, that level of fame and exposure is new and quite scary. And like there's been a lot of like the female pundits getting a lot of stick just now, and where they've never really been exposed to that sort of level of exposure, obviously. I say exposure now.
Aye, no, you're right, and it is quite a daunting thing because, like you say, like we didn't really ken how we deal with some stuff because we've never been. How do you ken how to deal with something when you've never been put in that situation before?
Exactly.
You're not supposed to ken how to act and how to answer and how to respond when like, oh, I just did it for the first time, so like I have no experience, so the more I'll try and be better.
You need to do things to learn for them, and like same, like especially mistakes. You need to make mistakes to learn for them. Like nobody kens what to do with grief because they've never experienced it before. But once you've experienced
Exactly.
it, you'll ken what to do the next time. Same with like the first time you went to Sweden, because obviously that was the first time you lived away from home for a number of time. Look at you now, you're fucking chilled out living in Liverpool.
Aye. That's what I mean, and that's just life experience. So
folk
like,
need to just go out and take all these opportunities they can get, because in one way or another, it'll benefit them. Even if it is a shitty, most pointless thing ever, they'll be able to take something out of it.
Aye. I'm 100%. It really terrifies me that there's so many folk out there who didn't ken what their potential is because they're too scared to take the first step and doing something.
Aye.
Like that's scary, eh? Like you're crippling yourself because you're scared to maybe get judged.
Aye,
You're getting judged.
Say.
You're getting judged anyway, because if you do anything, then you'll be judged as the person that works wherever they work. Aye, like you, regardless of whatever you do in life, you're gonna get judged. Like we're humans, everybody judges everybody. That's just how it is.
Aye, it's just
so you'll be always getting judged at something that you're passionate about, rather than getting judged. As long as you're enjoying
yourself, that's the main thing, yeah.
Exactly, and you take it as it comes. Like
I tell myself that far too much. King about the house on mine, just being an absolute fanny. Honestly, if there was CCTV in my house, folk would fucking have me interviewed. There's something not right with this.
Oh, we're the exact same. I think everybody's the same.
Oh my god,
everybody's got their weird side.
Just walk about speaking to yourself in different accents.
Oh, aye, it's nuts, man. If somebody listened to mine and Lucy's conversations, they would hear us in a hospital. It's 95% nonsense.
I was quite concerned when I was coming on in case like something slipped up, like we just started talking in their stupid wee phone voices.
Aye,
like,
fucking...
oh my god, I can't do that because I'm going to be like folk are going to hear this.
Aye, I can remember the last time we spoke like this.
Nah.
Like a serious fucking conversation. It's been ages.
Aye. But it's funny, man.
Aye. But new contract though.
Aye.
New contract.
An extra 2 years, so
when am I getting my percentage back for obviously making you the player you are today?
Jens, you always crop up with that comment, and I really struggle to find the context behind it. Eh?
Like, who else were you going to run rings round at the Astro at PE? like somebody had to be the cone, and that was me.
Somebody had to be the mannequin, and it was a wee ginger boy.
Aye, correct. But
it's exciting stuff.
It is indeed. I know I'm like absolutely thrilled to extend my contract there. Like I really do. Like I totally love it down here. Obviously got the responsibilities and the challenges every day. So I am still like living the dream, as you would say, but it's hard, man. It's graft, but that's why I keep turning up. So
certainly.
What about the whole? Because obviously you're the captain at Everton. What kind of pressure does that bring along? Because obviously being a football player, a professional one at that, is hard enough. So obviously being the captain, you're the one everybody looks to and listens to throughout the 90 minutes and obviously throughout the week of training. So do you thrive on that pressure? And how does it kind of make you feel?
I think when you have your own kind of like solid sort of values that you live by, it's just about leading by example, really. Like, what do you want out of other, like, what do you want to see, type thing. Like, so I just do what I want to do, and I just act how I act, because I act the way I want other people to act. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why you were made captain. Is that I think that just because you're not. I wouldn't say you're a leader, although you're vocal. I think it's more leading by example, rather than a player that is like shouting and swearing and like really like authoritative. I think it's more just leading by example.
Aye.
And I think that whole thing of like not expecting something for somebody that you wouldn't do yourself.
Exactly. Aye.
So like, well, I'm willing to put this work in. There's no reason why you shouldn't be as well.
Aye, pretty much. And the whole like communication side of it as well, like in a way that I can control my emotions. I didn't speak to people like that. Even in the most intense sort of heat of the moment, like somebody's just made an absolute shocking decision, gave it like, I'm not going to be grilling you. I'm not going to be shouting down your neck because one, it's a mistake that you've probably not meant to make. Like, I'm your teammate, me shouting at you and making you feel worse about it isn't going to help anybody. Like,
it's a sensible way to look at it, because you get more for somebody if you speak to them in the right way, whereas if you're an absolute prick to them, they're just not going to respond well to you.
Aye, I can. For me, if I made a mistake and somebody was like straight down my throat about it, like I'd be like, whoa, didn't give me the ball. Like I'm the one making a mistake because he's got to jump on my back again. Like that's the kind of thing. Like that's the way I would look at it, and I'd be like, nah, what's that? Doesn't
I'd be saying, give him the ball, see what happens.
I exactly. You'd start like he or she would like get the ball and make a mistake, and you'd be like, haha, Felix. Like you'd start pointing fingers at each other, and that'd be like, oh, I didn't want you to do well. Like I want everybody to do well. Eh? Sometimes to the detriment of myself. I'm like pure cheering on everybody's like everybody's doing well when I'm not, and I'm like, oh well, I helped them do that though. So
do you still get that like your level, like pettiness and that? Because I can't at fucking primary and high school, there was always one that just couldn't do anything but fucking moan, and if they opened their mouth, there was going to be a moan coming at it. So the level that you're at now is there still folk like that 24/7?
Oh, aye.
How do you put up with it?
Again, it's just trying to block it. I'm in control. I hear what I want to hear. I react to what I want to react to. It's no rocket science, eh?
It's similar to any situation. How do you kind of hold yourself surrounded by like negativity?
Aye.
Obviously, on a football part, it's a wee bit harder because you're trying to focus on all these things at once. But this is me,
Aye.
Just hearing somebody moan 24/7, like, come on, get on with it.
Exactly. Like, one you either just call them out on it. Eh? If you see it, say it. If somebody's getting up your nose about something, about like the stupid petty wee things, I'm like, well, take responsibility, take ownership for it. You know what I mean? There's no point in pointing fingers and moaning. Like, you're going to try and find a solution. If you're not going to try and find a solution, then shut up about it.
Say it how it is, Lucy. I love it.
Well, exactly. Like that, I can be quite straight talking like that, but I can also put an arm around somebody's shoulders if they need compassion as well. So it's just finding whatever works for each other, and it's not about the single people at the end of the day, Kim.
There's no I in team.
Not even that important, eh? Just turn up and do my job.
So Scott, you got anything else to add?
No, I don't think so. Just apologise for the start, and I couldn't fucking hear myself. I was listening to myself twice, and it was putting me off. So I'm sure the opening couple of minutes I'll sound like an absolute fud, and I feel like I've not been able to get a sentence out. I feel like I've not been able to get a sentence out all night, so I do apologise. And I've had to do this through Zoom, obviously, with Luce being down in Liverpool. So if there's any feedback, I know we've heard it through the headphones at some point. So if that makes it into the recording, we apologise. But such as the modern world with COVID and that, we just have to fucking deal with it. But we both really appreciate it, Luce. As I say, I know it's not in your nature to do something like this. So I would really appreciate you coming on and saying that what you've said.
No, anytime, boys. I really enjoyed having a wee chit chat with you, so it's good to catch up again. And Scott, I'll probably be on the phone to you shortly, talking a stupid voice. So
aye. I'll speak to you in 10 minutes again.
Right then.
Just before we go, Luce.
Aye.
Just
what is
curiosity,
it?
I don't know. You obviously remember because it was your Instagram. Is your bio still form is temporary, class is permanent? Can you mind that? That's something that's always stuck by me that you had as your bio on Twitter or Instagram or something. Can you mind having that as your bio?
Aye.
Aye.
but it's no anywhere. I don't care what it is now. I'm not, like I say, I'm not huge on social media, and I don't
Bring
care
it
what it is.
back.
But
Bring it
It'll
back.
be-
What a line that
It'll
is, by the
be
way.
Scott is the best.
Aye.
Aye, it'll be something along the lines.
aye,
But,
I don't actually care what it is, but
Aye, to the pair of yous, thanks very much. I've thoroughly enjoyed that. I don't care how long it is because it doesn't tell you on this Zoom thing, but I'm sure
I think
we'll
it's
find out.
I think it's a fair whack, to be fair. I think this
Aye.
might be the longest one.
No, it's a competition, but
No, it's competition, but you win.
But it's been a pleasure. I've been a third wheel for the past hour or so. But no, I think a lot of folk will benefit from all the stuff that we covered in that conversation. And all the best in your next couple of years in the contract, Luce.
cheers, bud. Nah, thanks for
hopefully
having me
get you in
on.
the green and white at some point.
Aye.
Definitely, and also I seen that you got mugs.
We did get mugs.
I'm one
Yes.
one.
Yeah, everybody that comes on the show gets a mug.
Yes,
People that
Definitely.
don't know what we're talking about, once the actual charity side of things and the business plan's done and up and running, we will actually be selling them, and all the money that's made from the mugs will be going into the charity. But obviously can't go about selling mugs without putting it into
A business.
Aye.
Aye.
What would you say? A creditable
Aye.
account.
Okay, aye.
But it's not going to be
Aye.
put into my current account, let's just say. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed it. We do apologise for any technical difficulties. I was absent for the first 5-10 minutes because I was like a wee school bairn. Scott's seat went and I fucking went up the stairs to calm down. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm sure you all have too. But if you've got anything to add, comment or that, feel free to message us on either the Instagram Anxiety Society Podcast or the Facebook page Jordan's Anxiety Society. So aye, say cheerio, folks.
Aye, thank you very much. Cheers.
see you later. Thanks.